Put your faith in the light.
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. This is Lightblade, and well, in this one we have a lot to talk about because 11.1, the Undermine patch, has been revealed, and there's a lot of changes relevant for Retribution paladins. Not only tuning, but also our tier set, so let's get into it. Okay guys, let's talk about the changes first. So Blizzard is hitting Retribution paladins hard on their passive healing. The first nerf is to Seal of the Crusader, reducing the healing by 50%. So this was, like I said, a very passive way of healing, but it was extremely effective. In a Mythic Plus setting, you normally were giving your group like around 3 to 4 extra HP bars by just existing there. This was because there was a powerful interaction with Crusading Strikes, making the Seal of the Crusader not only affect one target, but every single target in your group. The other nerf to our passive healing is on Light Force Blessing. Now it's only going to heal 1% of health instead of 2% to those 3 targets whenever you Divine Storm. But don't worry too much about the nerf on our passive healing. They are going to give us a small compensation down below when we get to that part of the changes. So the next change is to Adjust Reward. Now has more Just Reward, it says here. Its healing has been increased to 140%. So this is the talent that whenever you dispel someone, you heal them. Even with this change, it's just going to be a worthless talent because it's just too situational. The target has to have something to dispel in order for you to heal them. So yeah, pretty bad change in my opinion. The next one is Blinding Light and Repentance now break on damage threshold instead of breaking on any damage. This is pretty important for people that do mostly PvP because they are able to hit targets when they are CC'd. For PvE players, this might mean that whenever you Blinding Light a group of mobs, maybe you have a bit of extra time to DPS them before they start doing things again, you know, so not a big thing for PvE players, pretty decent buff for PvP players. Okay, now let's go to the hero talent changes. So for Templar, Empyrean Hammer now prefers player targets over creatures or summons. This is another change mostly focused on PvP players because, well, you want those Empyrean Hammers to hit your main target, you know, and sometimes they have the bad habit of just going to anywhere. So yeah, that's a pretty big buff for PvP people, but for PvE situations, it's not going to affect us in any way, shape, or form. The next change is Hammer of Light implementation has been revamped to resolve issues such as casting delay, tuning difficulties, and the limited scalability of its infrastructure. So that means that if you feel that your Hammer of Light is clunky whenever you press it, and sometimes you feel a small delay, they're going to fix that. You know, they said that they fixed the haste scaling on this thing, but it still feels sometimes clunky, so now that should be fixed on the next patch. And the last change for Hammer of Light is that now it displays the correct amount of damage done by a secondary target damage effects for Retribution Paladin. So this is most of a clarity change because whenever you use your Hammer of Light, sometimes it didn't show the damage numbers that the thing was doing. But it was doing the damage, it just didn't show it. So now let's go to the Retribution changes. Okay guys, let's talk about Retribution specific changes. So the first one is to Flash of Light's healing. It's been increased by 35%. That's a pretty decent buff, but remember I said before that this change is made because they have to counteract the passive healing nerfs that they did to Retribution Paladins, so they are giving us extra active healing. Flash of Light actually is a pretty decent option because it does have pretty good talents that support it. Like the first one can be here, a Selfless Healer that makes your off healing capabilities a lot stronger, you know, because Flash of Light is 30% more effective on your allies, and 40% of the healing that you do with this is also going to heal yourself, meaning that you're healing both 2 people with just 1 spell. There's another talent that also buffs Flash of Light, which is Light Celerity, making Flash of Light instant cast instead of having to cast it, and its healing done is increased by 20%, although it has a 6-second cooldown. This is pretty powerful because instead of using a Word of Glory, let's say, and using 3 Holy Power to heal someone, now you just use a global cooldown and you can still use the Holy Power to do damage. So I think it's a pretty decent trade-off that you got there, you know, and Flash of Light is going to be now on the forefront of our healing stuff, you know. Now, the next change is to Word of Glory. Its mana cost has been increased to 15% instead of 10%, and this is a pretty big nerf because you can now go if you spam too many Word of Glory. That's what I said. That's why I said, you know, Flash of Light is going to be your primary healing and Word of Glory is going to be your secondary healing if you need more of it. After that, they are also nerfing Healing Hands. Now it only functions to increase Word of Glory's healing on the Paladin themselves, so only on us. It no longer increases healing on allies. So I think this change is still fine, you know, because of the changes that they did to Flash of Light, increasing its healing. We also have the talent that buffs our healing on allies and also heals ourselves. So I think if we want to off heal someone, you're going to throw some Flash of Lights on them instead of Word of Glories. And if you need to heal yourself, if you need more healing on yourself, you're going to just throw some Holy Power and use Word of Glory. Now, the next change is to Divine Toll. Now it casts judgments at units near your main target, even if you're not in combat with them. This is especially important if you're playing with people that have disorient effects, you know, to crowd control mobs. Let's say a DK throws its Ice Sleet or something like that it's called, the disorient effect they have, and at the same time you throw your Divine Toll. Sometimes the Divine Toll would fizzle and would only throw one hammer, which was very, very sad because you lost so much damage there. And now that's no longer going to happen. If there's things close to your Divine Toll target, they're going to get hit by those hammers no matter what, which makes our damage a bit more reliable. Now let's go to the next changes. Okay guys, the next change we have is not mentioned in the blue post, but it is here in the Datamine information from the PTR, which is to Divine Hammers. So Divine Hammers now no longer consume Holy Power whenever they're doing their damage, they just do it normally. It's a cooldown that lasts for 8 seconds, and every time we use Holy Power where we have Divine Hammers, it's going to extend the duration by 0.5 seconds, you know. So yeah, pretty powerful talent. There's also a really good interaction that it has with Final Reckoning. So you know, Final Reckoning has been kind of like in the down low for a while because they nerfed it so much, but since Divine Hammer is now going to cost 3 Holy Power, it basically makes it a Holy Power spender, meaning that it's going to get the buff from Final Reckoning whenever you use it. And not only that, Blizzard has changed the cooldown of Divine Hammer from 2 minutes to 1 minute, so it especially feels that it's going to fit that 1 minute cooldown Retribution Paladin. So if we use Divine Hammers in the future patch, we are going to have 3 things that are going to be in the 1 minute cooldown rotation: Final Reckoning, Divine Hammer, and Divine Toll, you know. Because currently we are a 30-second class, while we are pretty powerful at the moment, it feels like we lost a bit of our identity of using cooldowns and stacking them, you know. We just do damage, which is fine, you know, but we used to stack a lot of stuff to do our damage as Retribution Paladins, and maybe with this change to Divine Hammer, we're going to go a bit back to that, or at least have the option to go back to that, you know. So yeah, I like the change to Divine Hammers. Now let's talk about their new tier set. Okay guys, now let's talk about our tier set. So this one is pretty weird because Blizzard went to the route of experimenting a bit, you know, and now every single 2-set bonus is going to be shared by every role. So DPS have one, healers have one, and tanks have one. So the Retribution 2-set bonus is your spells and abilities have a chance to activate Winning Streak, increasing the damage of your Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm by 2%, stacking up to 10 times. After that, Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm have a 12% chance to remove that winning streak. So as you do your rotation as normal, you know, you sometimes might build those 10 stacks to buff your Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm, but you still want to spend, you know, even though sometimes you might lose that winning streak, that is going to synergize with the 4-set tier set bonus, which says whenever you lose your winning streak, you get the last Holy Power spent back, you know. So normally that's going to be 3 Holy Power, and for 4 seconds you cannot lose Holy Power, so you can just spam spenders at your heart's content, and the damage of your Holy Power abilities is increased by 10%. So this tier set is pretty wild, you know. It's very, very RNG fiesta because you are going to be just stacking that winning streak. You're going to be losing it pretty often because you are going to be spending, and you're going to get a lot of those small windows of 4 seconds where you can just throw all Holy Power spenders to your targets, you know, and do big damage. Now the thing that worries me a bit is that we are going to have to track these things like crazy, you know. Either the winning streak is going to be tracked, and also whenever you lose the winning streak has to be tracked whenever you get the buff for those 4 seconds of crazy Holy Power spending. Another thing that worries me is that it has a bit of anti-synergy with things like, you know, Blessing of Dawn, because that thing wants you to use Holy Power builders in between your spenders so you get some extra damage. But when you get that 4 seconds of free Holy Power spenders, you just go crazy, you know. So it has kind of anti-synergy with that. But all in all, it's a pretty powerful tier set bonus, and it's going to be pretty fun to play the RNG fiesta that it is. And well guys, that's going to be the video for today. I'm very excited to have more news about the next patch, you know, because the current patch is growing a bit stale, especially with the new island that they introduced and the gems being like time gated. yeah, it's not a good time to play WoW, you know, so having news about the next patch is really nice. Anyways, guys, if you enjoy my content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. Thanks for watching, everyone.